Another week, another pod. It is episode 207 of Come On You Reds, the definitive Toronto FC podcast. Gareth Wheeler, Terry Dunfield with you. And on this week's episode, we talk the last two games, a draw against the Red Bulls, a win over FC Cincinnati. The spotlight continues to shine on Ayo Akinola. Number 25, as in 25 homegrown players have been promoted, being given first-team contracts. We'll bring you the details on the latest. And 5 years ago yesterday, one of the top moments in Toronto FC history. And how did I forget? The first ever Ask Terry Anything, where we took your questions or taking your questions and asking Terry Dunfield just about anything that you want answered. Are you ready for it, Terry? The spotlight's on you. Forgot about Ayo.
Yeah, man. I've been seeing the questions, so I'm excited to get after it.
Nice job on the TSN desk last night. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel, and you can watch us live in the flesh, please subscribe to the Toronto FC YouTube channel. Terry, you shaved.
I knew you were going there.
Is it because Florian Valot of the Red Bulls took your look and you just really couldn't bear it any longer?
I wish I looked as cool as him. No, I think it came off in the wind at training yesterday.
Oh, is that what it was? Just poof. All right. Maybe, see, whenever I consider just shaving this all down, my face is too round. I just have a big round pumpkin head. I don't think I can do it.
Are you saying that looking at me right now?
No.
Pumpkin head. I wish I could go like just a little bit more stubble, man. It's just it ain't in our genes.
I was always told if you want to grow more facial hair, you got to walk into the wind with the part of your hair or part of your face that you need to grow the hair. So like if your patches O'Houlihan, which are kind of a little patchy here, patchy there, you just got to like walk into the wind, a stiff, cool breeze into the area which is having problems growing hair. That's what you do. That's your technique.
You've got me noodling. So tonight when I go to sleep, I'll open up the screen door and just sleep with my face just like dealing with the conditions.
Bingo. Covers over the body, face, just, it's about facial hair growth. That's what it's all about. Terry, last week you were stressed on the pod. You were busy. Unfortunately, things have been rolled back when it comes to the academy, though, as Toronto and Ontario are back in stage 2. What does that mean for the young players coming through at the Toronto FC Academy?
Yeah, it's some difficult news for sure. And what it means is we've gone into small group training. So teams are split into half. We're following protocols diligently. No contact, but we're being creative and just finding a way to keep pushing forward, teaching, developing players. It's tough, man, without a game on the weekend, though.
Well, that's the thing. I feel for everyone involved with the academy, but really first and foremost to the players, because you work hard, you try to develop other aspects of your game, but you're not rewarded with the match at the end of the week. And that's what's tough for any young player.
For sure, for anybody. Even when you're on the bench, you're not in the squad and you've trained hard all week. You want to play on the weekend. And for our kids, that's our performance criteria to see whether they've taken on board their learnings from the weekend. Can you go and execute it in the game?
So you covered the New York Red Bulls game last night for TSN. You're coaching, the under-15 team within the academy? Right. So have you queued up the tape of 17-year-old Caden Clark and say, this kid's like 3 years older than you, and he's going out and scoring worldies against the best team in all of Major League Soccer? Unfortunate for Toronto FC, they come away with a 1-1 draw, but a 17-year-old sensation, 2 games, 2 goals, and what a goal that was to share the points last night. And sometimes, like Terry, you just got to tip your cap to a phenomenal piece of work by a very young player. What did you make of what you saw last night, and have you queued it up for the academy kids?
It's funny, we're in a group chat, so I'm on the decks texting all the players, and we're going over the details of the goal and his awareness, how he's checked his shoulder to see whether he's positioned well in between the lines, and then he kind of wins a little bit of space to get past Marky Delgado, and then he kind of doesn't even look at the goal. He just has a reference in the back of his mind of where the goal's at. And it's just showed how confident the young kid is to even take a shot on like that on his wrong foot, sticks it in the top corner. And I agree with you. Westberg said it afterwards. Sometimes you just got to hold your hands up, tip your cap and say, you know what? That was just a worldy moment and strike. And you know, it's tough to defend. Maybe, I think I said it last night, if, you know, it's 2 games in 3 days on the back of a busy fixture list, maybe, you know, Markey, he's been phenomenal, can foul him or do a little bit more as he kind of wriggles past him if he's maybe not so tired. But
the thing was, like, Markey recovered. It was like just a step away. Like, he got into a position where he denied the player playing it back to the right-hand side or getting inside the area. I'm with you. I think you just got to tip the cap. And look, Caden Clark isn't the second coming of Lionel Messi. At least we don't think so. But that was a Messi-type strike at that point. And look, he might do that, you know, 99 other times and miss. He might shank. It might go out for a throw. It might hit a defender. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. I just thought it was a phenomenal piece of work. TFC had numbers back as well, Terry. And if you want to give a 17-year-old kid that shot from outside, then so be it. You know, let him beat a top goalkeeper in Quinn Westberg. I just thought it was ridiculous, the fact that now he is the youngest player in MLS history to score in his first 2 games. Incredible. Just 17. 17.
I think just adrenaline's pumping. At 17, I remember, I think made my debut at 18. I wouldn't even think about taking something on like that. I'm just looking to connect passes, keep it simple. It's very unexpected. I don't think Q even thinks he's going to take it on. And then all of a sudden, it's just like a laser into that top corner. And you're like, are you kidding me? On the back of Pozuelo having a pretty good opportunity too.
Well, it seems like that type of intervention is what's required to take points away from Toronto FC.
Well said.
on this recent run. So I came into the game not mad, not even frustrated. Maybe there'll be a few regrets because based upon the balance and the way that the Red Bulls play, and by the way, I'm very impressed with this rebuilding, this very young Red Bulls team. I thought they pressed with bravery. I thought it caused problems. It was a very watchable style, so I give them full credit. But TFC, by virtue of the fact that the Red Bulls opened things up, had their chances in the second half, had random 2-on-1s where the final ball wasn't there or just the shot was blocked or wasn't hit with enough cutting edge. But it was in the 72nd minute, I believe, where there was an incredible move through the middle of the park. Subasa Endo cut inside, ended up to Pozuelo outside to Larea. Pozuelo finished his run inside the area, and the ball was just blocked by a defender off the line. I mean, if TFC scores then, it's game, set, match. The 3 points are yours, right? It's just one of those where you just cannot believe it didn't go into the back of the net.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal move. And there's a little bit of talk about comparing TFC to 2017 when they won the MLS Cup to the team now. And for me, the biggest difference is in their style of play. And their style of play now, that dial's just been turned a little bit more towards maybe Dortmund, away from maybe Barcelona, making the pitch really big. And I think you see it in that move, how TFC play vertically, play through gaps, less touches. And you know, within 7 seconds and 6 passes, Pozuelo right from Westberg to the other 6-yard box are having a great opportunity. And what they did is they just took a numbers up situation all the way up the field. Endo's movement off the line was clever. They just carried that 3v2 all the way up. And I think that action really describes TFC's identity. And I don't think it's a missed chance. It was, in the end, it was good play, but also a good save.
Yeah, good defending as well. That wasn't the only opportunity. That, for me, was the most clear cut. There was a time where Pozuelo was played over the top. It was 2-on-1, played it straight into the defender. There was times where Io just didn't take his chance. Pozuelo on that move, on another move, just passed it to the goalkeeper, tried to use placement over power. It seemed like later in the game, and this is what I've noticed about Pozuelo, and this is meant to be a compliment, not anything that detracts from him, but when things are going really well, he wants to bring his teammates into the game. Like, he wants to make that extra pass. He wants to leave it for a player, just to kind of bring them into feeling the vibe that he's on at that time. And it was a time like last night. We saw it against Montreal Impact in the Canadian Championship as well, where you want him to be a little bit more ruthless. I don't know if it's something that you can teach in the player or drive home. Like, no, go on and get your second goal. Go on and get your third goal rather than bringing in other players. What do you make of that? Do you agree with my assessment?
I do. I think there's a couple things. One, Pozuelo's started and played pretty much every minute for TFC. And the pitch was a little bit heavy yesterday. The intensity that the Red Bulls play with is second to none. So I think that's one of the behaviors that start to happen when you're just a little bit tired. And that's normal. And then the other one I'd say is there's been a little bit of shift with Pozuelo where he's become a real team player. I thought when he first came to TFC, he tried to do a little bit too much and take everything on. He wasn't as efficient. But what happens is in the back of your mind, you start becoming this new identity. And I think maybe he has in the back of his mind that he's now, and he is, the assist master. And what comes with that is maybe we spoke about turning the dial with TFC's identity being a little bit more vertical. I think the dial's been turned with Pozuelo that he's now trying to be that the player that sets up that last action when maybe he can go and take it on.
Yeah, certainly. Again, it's not a criticism. It's just kind of the evolution of his game and where he is today and where he's become that consummate teammate. But again, just at times, you're much more comfortable at a 2-0 than a 1-0. And, one of those chances goes into the back of the net. There's no doubt Toronto FC come away with the full 3 points. Another goal for Pozuelo, number 8 of the season. That equals a team high with Ayo Akinola. Another penalty where the goalkeeper, Ryan Mira, had no idea what was happening, Terry. We discussed this with Sean Johnson the previous week. A goalkeeper that is so in his own head. And I thought you explained it really well on the broadcast. The 3 intangibles that make him such an effective penalty taker. But the one that I liked is him disguising kind of where he's going to place it. Like, you just simply don't know where it's going to go. And when they were showing the replay from behind of Pozuelo completing the penalty, he didn't open up his hips. He didn't show what side at all. It was almost as if he was waiting to see what the goalkeeper did and then reacted. Like, the old school way to teaching a penalty was go up, decide where you're going to put it, and put it there. And if the goalkeeper guesses right, then so be it. But this is an evolution as well where he's going out and reading the goalkeeper and then adjusting accordingly. I just find it such an exceptional skill set for a player to have, because penalties aren't easy. As much as some players make them feel easy and look easy, they're not.
No, and he's doing just that. The only thing maybe I'd add to that is too, I think the fact that he's produced a couple Panenkas, I don't think goalkeepers want to be on a highlight reel either. So it's almost like, I'm just going to stay in the middle here. Maybe I get to it, but the last thing I do is want to be chipped.
Yeah. I think if the goalkeeper had moved, I'm not sure if he was going to chip it, but I think he just would have put it straight down the middle. He almost waited for Mira to hesitate. He's like, okay, I'll just pass him to the corner. Like, he saw him off balance.
And it's a tough technique because he's not, when you go to strike a ball, you're looking at the ball. Whereas when he runs up, he's looking straight at the keeper. And he's confident that his technique will be fine. He's got varied finish. He's got so much composure where time does slow down. And at the last minute, he's just reading the cues of the goalkeeper who's, like you said, in his own head, and he just tucks it away into the free space.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And what I liked about it as well, this is the second time in 3 games where a goal has come off a set piece. This one indirectly, obviously, of a penalty, but you could watch the sequential move. Toronto FC with a very good attacking movement. The ball lands on Piatti's foot. He has one of those swinging shots from distance. The goalkeeper, all he can do is play it out of touch for a corner kick, and then Toronto FC get the handball from it. Now, they might have been a little bit fortuitous because I think that Stephen Caldwell in the broadcast brought up a good point. I'm not sure if it came off of Nick DeLeon's hand first before Ayo Akinola pounced, and then the defender, Yearwood, ended up clearly handling the ball. But you get rewarded for those types of scrambles inside the area, cause a little chaos, cause some problems for the defense, the defenders, and then reap the benefits, right?
Yeah, you felt like the goal was coming. Pozuelo had a couple of chances. Io was on the last line, got it kind of caught under his feet. Great action that led to the corners you described. And then one of the things Io does really well, and it's really difficult to teach, is he just gets himself into good spots and reacts well. And the frustrating one for Yearwood and the New York Red Bulls is that ball was going to go out of the stadium. It wasn't going to go on target. But with the handball rule now, is if it hits your hand in the box more times than not, it is going to be a penalty. But I think Io deserves a little bit of credit of just reacting and getting something on that.
Yeah. And Yearwood's hand was up in the air like he was pleading the fifth. Like that wasn't a natural position whatsoever. Go ahead, Terry.
I was just going to jump in ahead of you there. But look, this I think was always going to be a sticky game on the back of a busy fixture list. The Red Bulls are, I use the analogy of, they're like remember the old New Jersey Devils with like Claude Lemieux?
Yep.
They play a little bit like them. They've got this kind of, the press isn't as aggressive. They wait to see what TFC's intentions are, and then they press with almost a front four. It's difficult to play through that, especially if you're a little bit tired. So it wasn't super clean at times, though TFC found ways and were very brave trying to play through the press, I thought. And then when the New York Red Bulls have the ball, at times they just kind of hack it forward. It's never pretty. All their goals come off of scrappy play. And they feed off they feed off scraps, and the messier the game is probably the better for the New York Red Bulls. So with all of those variables, it was always going to be tough. And in the end, it took a wonder goal for TFC not to take all the points. So I think, again, it was another performance indicative of a team top of the league.
I thought it was a good game to watch overall. I thought it was interesting. I'm impressed. I didn't really rate the Red Bulls. Honestly, I haven't seen much of them this season. Obviously, their new head coach, Gareth Struber, is not in the country yet. Who knows when he will be? So they've been doing this under an interim manager in Bradley Carnell. And honestly, a very good young team that's rebuilding on the fly. Remember, just a couple of years ago, this was a team that won the Supporters' Shield, but so many players have gone out. New players have come in. They're just a completely different group, yet I give them full credit. That, for me, is a playoff team and a team that no one will want to face come playoff time if they play that way. Just kind of rock and roll football, right? Just they'll go out and play with nothing to lose.
Yeah, a couple of things to that. One, when you're playing and you know a new manager's coming in and he's watching every game, you're playing almost for your future. You should be like, your mindset should be that at all times, but you know Struber's watching. So I think players know that they're going to have to go out and perform to stay in the 11 for sure. And the model of the Red Bulls is a difficult one. I think what you'll see is a team that goes through cycles, a little bit like the OHL. And when these young players come through, you get them almost for a season, and then they're off to bigger and better things if you've done things right. And then it takes another couple of years for this cycle to come through again. And now you've got a couple of good young players. They play for another season. So their big year might be next year. And then those young players are sold. But it's really difficult with their model to have consistency.
Sure. Yeah, because they all support the brand. Like Struber is a guy that played for Salzburg before they were Red Bull Salzburg and started coaching within the youth academy before he went on to Barnsley, obviously. But now he's back in the Red Bull family. Jesse Marsch has worked his way. Red Bull's coach, now Red Bull Salzburg coach. You know, Leipzig's probably his next stop whenever Julian Nagelsmann goes somewhere else. It's just I kind of like the model, to be honest with you, and I'm just reading reports now that Liverpool, they want to go out and buy a smaller European club to create that pipeline. We see it with Manchester City as well. Is this kind of the way forward, Terry? This is the best way to give young players opportunity, coaches an opportunity, and create a footballing identity through multiple clubs.
Yeah, for sure. I like it. I think it allows you to keep everything in-house, and depending what the player or staff member needs, that you've got the right opportunity ready for them, whatever that challenge might be. And I think that this is the way forward if you have the resources. I'd love to go spend a couple weeks in New York or maybe Salzburg and just really understand, do a deep dive into the New York Red Bulls way of playing and training. I think it's interesting and it's very unique. And I'd love to see how they train for sure.
So a 1-1 draw. The good news for Toronto FC is Wednesday was one of those weird nights in Major League Soccer where up was down, left was right. Like, it was bizarro world because Columbus Crew lost to FC Cincinnati, Philadelphia Union drew DC United, Orlando City dropped points against New York City FC. There was a bunch of random results. So Toronto FC not really punished. They're still on 38 points, 3 points ahead of the Philadelphia Union, who also punched their playoff ticket. So playoff ticket punch for TFC as well for Philadelphia Union. That's new. That happened this week. Playoffs clinched already, just like that, Terry.
It really is. It's like, are you kidding me? How quick is this? I mean, it's been the longest year ever, but now all of a sudden we're talking playoffs. One thing about MLS is you'll just with the schedule, how big the countries are, that you'll just find nice matchups where you catch a team that's a little bit off, or they're missing key players, or they don't have a ton of rest, where everything kind of lines up nicely for you. And I thought some of those fixtures played out last night. It was too bad DC couldn't hold on. They were up 2-1, and then Philly come back and score a late goal.
Yeah. That's what makes it that much more impressive that TFC have now gone 8 unbeaten yet again, playing a home away from home. It's just so difficult to go on these runs in a league where teams regularly drop points. You know, players from various clubs were away on international duty over the past 2 weeks, like injuries. It's not easy. And the fact that TFC had that 5-game winning streak, I think they've lost 2 of their last 27 or 28 games in Major League Soccer regular season play, which is a ridiculous statistic. And they continue to come away with results, Terry.
And the other thing I'd add to that too, Wheels, is we've dropped points as well. The DC game comes to mind. Last night will come to mind. Like, we've been in positions where San Jose for sure. Where we've been in positions where we could have probably taken even more points. You know, maybe we're being a bit greedy, and over a season it does even out. But it's we've never really been chasing goals or chasing points throughout the year, which is a really nice feeling in a league. Greg said it this year, where momentum's so important.
Before the game, Toronto FC announced the 25th homegrown player signed to a first-team contract in club history. Congratulations to 18-year-old Ralph Priso, the central midfield player, played for Canada at the Under-17 World Cup. He's left-footed. I know that Greg Vanney loves his compete level, feels that no matter what is asked of him, whether it's playing within the academy, playing for a youth national team, playing for the first team, he rises to that challenge each and every time. And Vanney has told me, or even over recent weeks, he told me, look, I got this kid I want to sign. It's taken a little bit longer. I'm having to be patient. He told me that he wanted to have that player signed up a few weeks ago and throw him straight into the team. Like, this wasn't a player that he's bringing up to fill out the numbers. He believes that this player is ready to play for them right now. You know Ralph through the academy. What do you like about the player? Maybe perhaps give our listeners maybe a little bit more of a scouting report.
Yeah. First, I'll drop some really good news. He's got a younger brother who is a big number 9, the same profile as Josie Altidore, that's been filling the net in 2004. So 2 years.
Name what's his name?
Hugo Mbonge. But yeah, a different dad. But yeah, this guy's an absolute beast. Plays for Canada. Scored against Mexico in the under-15s. But yeah, we've got real high hopes for him as well.
Right on.
So Ralph. Did you ever see the movie Blindside with Michael Orr?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So do you remember Michael Orr when he was playing in high school? Or how it was portrayed in the, so that was Ralph playing academy football in Ontario. You look out on that pitch, like, players wouldn't stand a chance against this guy. He was an absolute beast. It was almost too easy for him. Then he kind of got to around kind of 15, 16, and he was just so powerful, but his joints couldn't deal with it. Was like a Mustang engine in a car that just couldn't handle it. So he took maybe a year or two just dealing kind of with injuries as, his body developed.
Sure.
He kind of got over that.
A lot of young players go through that, Terry, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. And it's something that we need to manage. And I think too for coaches, and it's something I'm learning now, is when you assess players that are going through that maturity phase, be careful, because you're asking them to maybe perform things that their body can't execute. I was talking with Alex McKechnie about this, and
your sixth favorite Alex, right? Your sixth favorite Alex.
Go. Like how we can, and we're doing great stuff at TFC with Jim Liston and his crew, but how we can supplement their training to fit their profile. Really interesting stuff. But back to Ralph. So now his body is kind of good to go. He's off the treatment table. He's probably one of Canada's best performers at the Under-17 World Cup in Brazil. Really rises to the challenge. And I like what Greg Vanney said in the press conference. He was one of the few players with the Canada team that you could say, yeah, he's ready for senior football. And whatever was thrown his way, he was all over that challenge. He's a four-moment midfielder, meaning he's not going to go missing. He'll be involved in the build. He can run past players in the attacking half. In transition, he's available, and the game doesn't bypass him. He's a beast closing people down, and he can execute his job defensively, which is a bit of a breath of fresh air for a lot of midfielders. Are kind of good in two moments. And then from what I've heard from Greg is he's been kicking lumps out of the first team players in training. He's definitely hanging with the guys. I didn't like to hear that contract negotiations have gone on for like 3 weeks, Balotelli style. I'd like to see our kids when the first team comes and knock and just sign and trust in the process. But it sounds like he's ready to not go out and, develop and learn his trade while he's with the first team. He's ready to go make a difference now.
Right. And a left-footed player in central midfield.
Yeah, gives you some balance.
Different profile as well. So we look forward to seeing Priso on the field.
The last thing to leave our listeners with is he's a little bit like, remember Michael Essien that played for Chelsea? That's the kind of player I say his game's modeled on a little bit.
Well, he's a pit bull that's setting quite the standard. One of the best, number sixes in Premier League history. Honestly, he's that good, and we wish Ralph all the best coming through. I've had plenty of people reach out to me and at Gareth Wheeler and say, "Well, why isn't this young player playing? Why isn't this young player playing?" Like there's a thought process among some who don't see these players training every day that this player should be playing, or why isn't this player playing more? It's a difficult team to make it in, and you need to show the coach and the coaching staff on a day-to-day basis that you're a winner, that you're able and willing to put in the work required to play at the highest of levels here in North American football. And if you do so, you get handsomely rewarded, like Ayo Akinola right now. It took time, though, Terry. I would hate to think that TFC were in the business of giving players playing time before they're actually ready, before they actually deserve it. But I've heard this with Gallardo, Schaffelberg, some of the other young players. Look, you need to be playing on a level where there's no dip in the team's form. This isn't a charity. You just don't get a run out because you've signed a contract, right? You need to do something about that. And if I was any one of those players, I'm going to become an absolute keener. I'm going to dig deep. I'm going to have the conversations with the coaches on the regular basis, what I need to do more to make it to that level. Because clearly there's talent there amongst the young players who are among the reserves, but you need to do something to make your way onto the field and prove that you're better than the alternatives. There's real competition here. I think it should be an eye-opener to all young players. And just because X young player isn't going in doesn't mean like a player like Priso won't. If he earns it, if he's at a level where he can play right now, the coaching staff is certainly going to play him.
For sure. And I'll go old school on you and make it really simple. the harsh realities of professional soccer is you have to go out and take the shirt off of the player playing in front of you and then do enough to keep that shirt. And you're talking about the best team in MLS right now. So it is going to be a difficult team to get into. I think that the mechanisms of MLS make it difficult for young players because you can only have so many players in your first team squad. And once you've signed a contract, okay, now you're available to go out and play when Greg sees fit. But that's just the first step. You've just signed a contract, right? You're not entitled to minutes now. So now what's next is, now I don't want to be a book at the library. So I'm now in the library. I want to be a book that's taken out all the time. I want to be a book that's used. And right now with our young players, it's great that we're getting players signed and into that first team squad. That's our first step, that either they've got potential or that they're ready. Now we need our young players to go out there and make an impression. And I'm not saying you've got to be Clark and go stick it in the top corner and score on your debut. But when you go out there, you've got to go make a difference. You've got to be reliable. And that's how, you go out and have a career. And once you're reliable and you're going to go out there and make a difference, now Greg Vanney can trust you and say, you know what, this kid can do a job for me.
Totally with you on that. Let's cover really quickly the 1-0 win in Cincinnati, because honestly, that game was a little bit of dog's breakfast. Just because
of the field, man.
That's like back-to-back games in New England and in Cincinnati. Like, thankfully, come next season, FC Cincinnati is going to have a new state-of-the-art stadium, grass field, home. But New England continues to be a problem. And back-to-back games, watching that style of football, it's just difficult for the fan. Any fan who loves the intricacies of the game, like a natural, free-flowing game, just that's not it. So in Cincinnati, it was a case of getting the points and getting the hell out of there. And Toronto FC ended up winning that game. 1-0 was the final. It almost didn't play out that way, as the birthday boy, Omar Gonzalez, 32 years young, looked to have called for a penalty right at the death. They went to VAR and ended up taking it away, which was the absolute correct call. I don't know where this mentality has come about that any contact inside the area, player goes down, means blow the whistle, it's a penalty. Like, you're allowed to have contact with the player, and there was such minimal contact there where Gonzalez had his arm up and he grazed the back of a player and he just flops down. That was never a penalty, and I was so happy that VAR did its job, properly in that moment.
Yeah, I don't blame the player. I think 90% of players in injury time are going to go over in that situation. But this is why VAR is here. And I agree with you. There wasn't enough contact. There wasn't, it wasn't like Omar wasn't in a good position to go and deal with it. I can see why the ref's given it, because you can see the player's arm on his back a little, or hand on his back a little bit, but there's no push, not enough contact. And it would have been a tough couple of minutes for Omar.
Like, we talk about the handball rule. Like, how's the player supposed to, go out and defend? Is his arm supposed to be by his side? It's the same thing when you're running backwards to defend. You're not running like with your arms not moving. Like, his arms are actually going to go and extend when you're making any sort of defensive movement. I don't know. It just would have been exceptionally harsh if that ended up going against Omar, especially on his birthday. I know that you specifically want to talk about the Toronto FC goal. Patrick Mullins scored in the 29th minute. Really good finish through traffic. But what caught your eye, Terry, was some good overloading of the midfield and the build-up to that goal. That's what caught your eye.
Yeah, I thought TFC's rotations were good. And it was interesting. We saw Marky Delgado out on the right side of a 4. You're thinking, okay, how's this going to play out? But what TFC tried to do and did do successfully was create overloads on the 2 midfielders for Cincinnati. And what we saw was Nice movement to kind of unbalance that midfield too. And then TFC played for the space, either side of the two midfielders or centrally to Mullins or Pozuelo when he was in there. Pozuelo picks up the ball deep, plays a firm ball between the lines, and Markey just tucks in a little bit. And that was the cue for Richie Laryea to get forward. And we saw Richie Laryea use his speed to get him behind. Okay, the first action doesn't come off. But TFC, this is something that they've kind of evolved with playing more vertically. They're now in good spots to regain that ball because I think TFC are being more dynamic. They're going for goal. So after a couple of regains, again, Richie Laryea runs into depth. It's the second time, makes that David Silva run. Also makes a good run to the nearest post, which creates some space for Mullins to kind of check back to that cutback area. And it's a tricky finish on his right foot, and he sticks it in.
It was a wonderfully worked goal, especially considering there was a very similar move just moments before, and Laryea that time picked out the wrong pass. The fact that he had his head up, I love the movement by Mullins, okay? And this is the thing. Typically, strikers, they want to be the fox in the box. They want to find the near post, far post, inside, in around the six. But Mullins had the discipline to check his run and head up to the area that was vacated where the space actually was. I just thought it was such a smart, creative run by Mullins, and full marks to Richie for picking him out.
Yeah, and that run doesn't happen if we don't have Oso in the box running to the near post. Otherwise, defenders will just pick Mullins up.
So Mullins got the goal. Congratulations to Mullins as well. One of 7 changes in the team. He was included in the MLS Team of the Week, as was Eriq Zavaleta, who had a very strong performance as well. Over that recent stretch, Terry, I mean, Chris Mavinga was left behind in Hartford, did not travel. You saw good games from each and every one of the 4 center backs. Laurent Simon, we documented before. We thought he had a really good game. The timeout before that, Zavaleta, Omar, Mavinga. It was good to see that all 4 center backs contributing in that kind of way.
Yeah, it's great. I think Zavaleta, it'll be huge for his confidence. And it was much needed. And I'm not surprised. Look, he's not turned into a bad player overnight. He hasn't had a run of games to kind of get into that flow of just playing match minutes. I thought he was solid. He was very clean in everything that he did. Simon was a beast against New England. I think he came out and he gave us one of those playoff performances that he had last season. He's got a nice relationship with Mavinga, but I thought he was very proactive, and that's a tough playing surface for somebody north of 30, but he went out and got after it for sure. And I think our center backs, Wheels, are getting some nice protection and our whole back line from Markey and Jonathan Osorio, whether they're screening, whether they're providing a double team out wide, or whether they're just kind of popping into pockets to protect space. So I think my 3 takeaways from FC Cincinnati game is 1, TFC protected the goal extremely well, and I thought they did it well again last night against the New York Red Bulls. 2, I thought the rotations in midfield were great, especially that chain as well down the right-hand side. And I thought the positioning of Markey just on the shoulder of Ben Junine, or however the heck you say his name, was excellent as well. Yeah, which caused problems.
Just a couple more notes that I have on that game.
Go ahead. On Chris, I think it looks like Chris has put a little bit of weight on. I think he's a little bit more durable. He's only missed 1 game this season, and he has been, maybe the best defender in MLS this year.
I'm with Caldwell. I'm with you on that. I just think that he's taken his game to another level, and staying fit is part of it, right? Like
the biggest one. Do you think he looks a bit heavier? Looks a bit stronger, and
he certainly looks more solid on the field. I have no idea. That's something that maybe it's worthwhile asking. We'll put in an ask to our good buddy Jimmy Liston to see what they've done, what Chris has specifically done to make him that much more of a solid, presence at the back. I think that's an astute shout there, Terry. Auro came back into the team. He got his first start against Cincinnati, started as well. What do you make of this whole idea of Aro and Richie swapping sides depending on the matchup? Typically, this isn't something that you see across world football, but with two fullbacks who are adaptable and can play in both positions, what do you make of that?
Just before I get into that, I think the way Greg is getting players back into the team and giving them 15 minutes before actually starting them, I think that's been very important. So when Mullins had a couple of cameo appearances, he looked sharp, he looked good. Now he's earned that start, and I'm not surprised it was a good performance. Same with Aro. I think it's a couple of things. I think you've got two completely different fullbacks. You've got a playmaker fullback, and you've got a linear fullback that loves to get forward like Dani Alves in Richie Laryea. And I think you can start to look at the opposition and go, okay, I like this matchup. In a perfect world, you've got a left footer at left back. I think relationships are important. So I think playing Richie with a wide player that likes to come inside is nice. I think playing Aro with an out-and-out winger in front of him is a nice fit. When teams press with two, TFC like to build with three. And I think rather than dropping a six back, so Michael into the back line, you can kind of shift Aro into the back line. So you make a back three with your two center backs, which is an easy fit. So I think it just gives you lots of flexibility. And as we saw last night, if it's not quite working or you want to change it in game, it's an easy change.
This also, what this does, the fact that Richie Laryea can play down both sides, also gives John Herdman other options what to do with his fullbacks and where to play Alphonso Davies and who felt like the options are endless, and it's a good problem to have for both head coaches of club and country. Want to congratulate Jaden Nelson as well, his first MLS start. I thought he was okay, Terry. You clearly see the skill set of the player, that he has that next level ability. I just don't think that he applied it in that game against Cincinnati. Look, the turf, a changed team, a lot goes into it. But what you saw right before he came off is something that I think the coaching staff will want to see from him in future games. It's having that bravery, going out there and wanting to take on a player. Like, there's that balance between playing it safe and playing it reckless. And I just think that he needs to find that balance, because he has the ability to beat a player. I just didn't think that we saw it enough. I thought he played a little bit safe in that match.
Yeah. It's, I guess my analysis, and it might sound a bit harsh, is he's probably at his best in attacking transition. So we win it, the opposition's not in their structure, and he can kind of just drive with the ball. And in that game, that scenario didn't really present itself. I thought when we were attacking against a set Cincinnati team, he was trying to do maybe a little bit too much. I think what I'd say is just simplify your game. You don't need a ton of tricks. You're so quick. Just knock into the space and go. And defensively, I thought it was okay in the first half. In the second half, you know, a couple of times he was maybe beat a little bit too easily, and then that's why Greg took him off. But there'll be lots of learnings for him from that game. Get after that video. Keep your head up. Stay positive. And when your next chance comes, go get after it.
A couple other notes. A hearty get well soon to our boy, our favorite Alex Bono. The day before that FC Cincinnati game, had a gnarly injury. Apparently, it was not pretty. Let's put it that way. Compound dislocation of his pinky finger. If you follow him on Instagram, you see the cast on it, and he's he's kind of moving forward with a positive attitude. And it's so harsh. 3 games, 3 clean sheets. You know that he will be back at some time. The timeline he's going to be out is 2 to 3 weeks. We'll see what that looks like. But hard luck for a player who's been on it this season, to be honest with you, Terry.
Yeah, I'm wincing now. So it was a compound fracture. So that means, I guess...
No, compound dislocation.
So but the bone's coming out of his skin, isn't it?
Yes, but it's dislocated. It's not broken.
Yeah.
It broke the skin, but didn't break the bone.
Yes. So, okay, that sounds like, how can that only be 2 or 3 weeks?
Yes.
Unless he's got like Wolverine blood. But I think it's always easier to swallow something like this on the back of a couple good performances. And with the timeline short, that helps as well. But it's great that we've got a couple of goalkeepers that are really in form right now.
So Kevin Silva is now the backup young goalkeeper, 22 years of age, was playing the reserves in Scotland last summer, came over, played about 8 or 9 games with TFC2. And Greg Vanny says that he's progressing as he would hope. And he's more like the profile of Quentin Westberg as a goalkeeper than Alex Bono. Good communicator, good organizer, good with his feet. So we'll see if he gets an opportunity here with TFC having already clinched a playoff spot. Lastly, I just wanted to point out, if you want to learn more about Ayo Akinola, TSN produced a little bit of a mini doc on him. It's about 12 minutes. It's called Together. Check it out. It's about Ayo, his mother, his brother, and how the family over the course of the years have faced homelessness, which is a real issue. His mother brought him and his brother over to North America in pursuit of a better life. And boy, oh boy, has she ever sacrificed to give him and his brother every opportunity. And now Ayo's taken full advantage and doing a lot of this in the name of his mother, who is clearly an inspirational figure in his life. So it's worth checking out. I'm not sure if you've watched it, Terry, but it just pulls back the curtain a little bit more of a player for the present and the future that is going to be going to play a big part for Toronto FC.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's, as you said, very inspiring, motivating. Seeing him around the training ground for the last 4 or 5 years, you'd never actually know what him and his family were going through. Very positive. Always had a smile that lit up the room. My interactions with them were always fantastic. Really respected his elders. Looked you in the eye when you spoke to him. He is a very good big brother. He has a younger brother, Tom Akinola, and he made sure, Ayo, that his brother got the same opportunities that he did in the academy. And Tom wasn't quite on his level, but I thought that was a nice sign of his character, and it's just an incredible story, and there's a lot more layers to come.
Is Tom playing university football? I saw RMU, which Robert Morris comes to mind. Is that where he's playing?
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, it said RM. I believe I had a couple of friends that I grew up with that played at Robert Morris. I believe it's just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So look, not every player is going to go on and play professionally. The scholarship route is a chance to, get your education, carry on playing the game that you love, and do something extraordinary with your life. So I give any player full credit. So quite the family. They're well-spoken. They're clearly in it together, and I give them all the credit in the world, and Ayo specifically, for persevering through some very difficult times.
And I think in a game where you don't see it all the time, there's a little bit of loyalty as well. It would have been easy. I think there was opportunities after the Under-17 World Cup for him to go to PSV or leave, like a lot of the young American players have done. Maybe go to Germany, and he trusted in the process here, and maybe it's taken a little bit longer than what he first thought. But by doing that, Greg Vanny's now given him the skill set and foundation to go and have a career. And as soon as he kind of started to learn his trade and he was moved up front, that was the game changer. That unlocked all that potential that we would see in glimpses.
Finally, we celebrated a little bit of an anniversary yesterday, which was October 14th, 5 years ago prior. Sebastian Giovinco, with the goal of all goals to help Toronto FC make the MLS Cup playoffs for the first time in their history. The backstory is just ridiculous. Everything that went on. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is across the city of Toronto, there was news reports. People were talking about it all day that, hey, 5 years ago today was the Jose Bautista, the Joey Bats bat flip, which I remember because my radio broadcast or radio call of the TFC match was canceled because everyone was on Blue Jays duty. And it was walking down to BMO Field that night after being in Liberty Village and watching a little bit of the Blue Jays game before. And some dude just jumped out of a bush. I have no idea where he came from. He was like, Bautista just hit a home run. And everyone's like, ah! Like, he scared the crap out of me. And like the city was buzzing that night. But then all these hardcore Toronto FC supporters came out to BMO Field and saw history. Sebastian Giovinco landed back in Toronto at 3:45 that afternoon. The baseball game had already started, Terry, as he played the day prior Italy-Norway in a qualifying match. And they weren't sure if he was going to play or not. Altidore was sent off in the 34th minute. TFC were hanging on. Giovinco came on, I believe, in the 71st, and then the 78th minute just made the Red Bulls look like a bunch of pylons. Went straight through 4 or 5 different players, left-footed, right corner. It was just one of those moments. I said this yesterday in my pre-match show that I remember sitting there in the press box, and I fell out of my seat. I just melted into the floor because it was like, what did I just see there? It was just so audacious, so ridiculous. And what that goal meant at that time for so many, it was just a perfect moment. And I just hope that Toronto continues to recognize that truly great moment in club history. I know that it was on the same day as the Joey Bats home run, but that moment, pound for pound, stacks up. I don't know what you remember about that moment, but I just wanted to take a moment to recognize just how great that sequence, that goal actually was, and how great that night was for Toronto FC supporters.
Yeah, it was. I remember the Blue Jays kind of causing some noise for sure. I remember thinking, wow, Giovinco's going Michael Bradley on us here, just playing through a flight across the Atlantic. And then he comes off the bench, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah. 71st.
And it was like watching a play in London or something. Like time really slowed down.
Right.
And I remember just thinking to myself, he just keeps going and he keeps going and he keeps going. And then it's on his left foot, I believe.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, he's not going to take this on. And then it's in the back of the corner. And then there was just like a split second where the whole stadium went quiet, where everyone was like, holy, did this just happen? And then the place erupted. That's kind of what I remember.
It was amazing. Could you imagine if Pozuelo was playing with Giovinco today?
They need 2 balls.
Yeah, and an extra defender play. But I mean, just simply an amazing moment. And that's when it really hit home that Toronto FC had turned the corner, and this was something different from what we had previously experienced. So good on that anniversary. Today, I should say happy anniversary to you, Terry Dunfield. You and me. A year ago today was Cavallini.
Oh, yeah.
A year ago today, we were at BMO Field, Canada 2, United States 0.
That feels like 3 years ago.
Yeah. A year ago today.
One night.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. So happy anniversary, pal.
Thanks, man.
Let's look ahead really quickly before we get to the main course. Atlanta United Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on TSN. A club that's gone through a ton of changes just in terms of coach, personnel, and hardly resemble the group that started the season yet. Still a decent team. I don't think it's a great team, but it's a decent Atlanta United team. We could see Michael Bradley back on the field. He's been going through tackling and training. Seems like he's moving in the right direction. What should Toronto SC's approach be to Sunday's game, and maybe some thoughts just on what Sunday may look like?
Yeah. I think you're coming up against an Atlanta team, maybe not as potent, don't quite have the same star power. They're struggling for a consistent goal scorer right now. Their form's okay. They've only lost one in their last four. But what I think you're going to come up against is a team with more of a collective approach rather than relying on some key pieces. But I think for TFC, it's more just about them and just continuing to grow and nailing home their identity. I think it's important too that we don't get caught up on not beating the New York Red Bulls, that it's just on to the next task, it's on to the next play, and let's just keep this momentum going.
Yeah, I think that the players will be inspired. They get to go home after Sunday's game for a couple days. So go out, professional performance, get the job done, and reap the rewards with a couple days off after that. I mean, they're much more of a meat and potatoes type group, with players like Adam John leading the line, Brooks Lennon, Heinemann, like the Martinezes are gone. Like, it's just a different feel to this Atlanta United team. Jurgen Damm hasn't really played that big of a role. So there are some very good players, and I think it's going to be a difficult game. They're just a much more difficult team to beat, but they lack that little bit of a cutting edge, that danger that they possessed in previous years. So we look forward to that on Sunday. Then the team gets a week off, which will be well taken and well deserved by this group. Let's get straight to it. For the first time ever, replacing the high five is the Ask Terry Anything.
Oh, damn.
We're going to bring back in Jerome. We've pooled, we've asked, and you've responded with some questions that you want Terry to answer. Some might be about football. Some might be about life. Some might be about hypotheticals. You are in the hot seat, Terry Dunfield.
All right. Are you ready, Terry?
Not anymore after
that. That came off pretty strong there. Are you ready, Terry?
Seriously?
Yes.
All right. Yes.
Do I have to?
All right. Well, let's start off with a throwback to the playing days. So Beaner at Bean Player asks, which away game would you have had marked on your calendar? So any season, like whether it was the field, the team itself, where were you excited to go to?
That's an easy one for me. So when I was playing for TFC, when the fixture list would come out, I'd scan down and I'd look for the Vancouver Whitecaps straight away.
Of course, right. And so, like, adding on to that, just being on the road, you can keep the name redacted, but do you have any nightmare roommate stories?
No, hold on. You got to share names and nightmare stories.
Just trying to think.
You try to think of what you're allowed to say.
I'll give you two. Danny, and I think we've spoken about this before. Danny Kuverman's in New England was a tough one. That was the night his career ended, and he was in his room. We were rooming together, and he had no medial, I believe, at that time. It snapped, and we knew, or he knew, that his career was over. And at 34, that's a tough one to come back from. And our season was pretty much over with him getting injured. We didn't get much sleep that night, and he just tried to be a supportive friend and good roommate. Probably the craziest one was we just beat in the LA Galaxy in LA, and we had a CONCACAF Champions League game in Honduras, I believe, midweek. So we were chartering from LA to Honduras, and my roommate at the time was suspended for the CONCACAF Champions League game, yet he was still on the trip. Darren O'Day. And he was good buddies with Robbie Keane and with the Republic of Ireland connection.
Yes.
And Robbie Keane was having a barbecue that day, and Mickey Rourke was it was a Hollywood party.
Mickey Rourke, like the wrestler?
The wrestler, he was there.
And he parties.
He looks like he parties. So I'm like, and I knew I was going to be playing in Honduras. I was gassed from the LA game. So I ended up passing on that party. but that party ended up being a solid party at Robbie Keane's that just didn't really stop for a while.
Okay.
Darren made his way to Honduras inevitably, right?
He was there, and
In body.
he was in fine form, and all I remember him singing to himself is, "I'm only here for the food."
Hey, JSB follow up. He's asking if you're still tight with Couvermans.
Yeah. I went and spent 2 weeks with them last, I guess, so 11 months ago in December, I think. Went and spent 2 weeks just kind of going through PSV's methodology and how they develop players, hanging out with him and his Marika's wife and his 2 girls. It was great. Our personalities are completely like 2 polar opposites. He's more Dungeons and Dragons, and I say too much and don't think without speaking. And I think for some reason it just goes well together.
Opposites attract.
Yeah, man.
All right, so we're gonna go to TFC Maddie at TFC to go. This is a general team question, but something that is actually kind of interesting. So injuries aside, what is your ideal starting 11 for Toronto FC?
For TFC?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Injuries aside.
Aside, yes.
Anyone. Build your starting 11, Terry.
I have to go to the training ground. I guess I won't see anyone. I think it depends a little bit on form and who the team are playing. I think that what I will say is there are key pieces that have to be in the team. And I don't know. It's a tough one right now. I think that there's 14. I'm going to dodge this one. I think there's probably
Gutless.
No, I think there's 13.
It's a difficult question to
players,
answer.
That you could say should be in the team right now. And if someone's injured or struggling for a little bit of form or isn't a good fit for who TFC are playing, that there's someone ready waiting in the wings. So I still believe Michael Bradley, and it's, he's like TFC's Kyle Lowry. And I think that when he's fit, that he'll come back into the team and you work around him a little bit. I'm hopefully Josie gets back, but if Josie doesn't, you've got Io up top. Piatti's got to be in the side. The tricky one is if Michael comes back into the team, how do you fit Pozuelo, Markey, and Oso in the team? I think they have to be playing. It probably means Oso out on the left wing. And I think, the back line more or less picks itself. I think the big question is if everybody's fit, do you go with Auro or Richie? And I think Q's just got the nod over Bones right now, even though Bones is pushing hard.
All right.
Okay.
That wasn't as gutless as I thought.
No, that's a fair answer. And I think also because that's something that's worth asking, just looking at how we dealt with the playoffs last year, where there are a bunch of different scenarios I can go through. Another question from TFC Maddie. This is a fun one I'm a fan of. So basketball 3-point contest. Your 2 competitors are one Gareth Wheeler and one Jerome Chang. Who are you picking to take that?
Ooh, can you throw it that far, Jerome?
I do okay. I don't just work off the laptop.
Shade at Jerome.
But then Wheels, are you good from deep? I feel like you're more of a post-up guy.
My outside jump shot is weak sauce right now.
Exactly.
I pick Jerome.
I feel like it's junk. I'm gonna go without having seen either of you play. I think Jay Rome's got the nice profile for it, and he's Mr. Basketball as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I can play, but I've just never been that outside shooter. From 12 feet, that's my game.
So for the
driving
specific
kick
contest, yeah.
Jerome 3. I would put my money on you.
I'll take it.
I've been campaigning for it. I guess next year will be 10 years at TFC for me, which is super cool. But for 10 years, I've been campaigning. We have to get a basketball net and court at the BMO training ground.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
We could call it the Terry Dunfield Court. Like, we can name it after you.
I don't know, man. If that's
The Terry Dunfield Alex McKechnie honorary.
and I'm sure the Raptors have a spare hoop they could lend us.
I could imagine.
course.
Yeah,
Have you seen Shawshank Redemption? I mean, where the guy writes all the letters
Yeah. Brooks.
to get the library. I feel like I'm that with the basketball hoop.
Was it Brooks?
Okay.
Might not be
Alright.
Brooks. Get the hoop.
Get the hoop.
But the guys would love it. Like, I saw, I think it was on Mavinga's Instagram or
Yep.
someone like
Laurent Simon.
Laurent
put up his-
Simon
yep.
just hitting free throws. Now, if it was a free throw shooting contest, I think I could take you, Jerome.
Okay.
And
Okay.
every training
Don't
ground
trust my
around
range.
the world that I've been to, that's where players congregate.
So the Come On You
before
Reds
training.
podcast now is we're pushing for MVP Pozuelo, Io Akinola to Canada, and a basketball net to BMO training grounds. That's now we have 3 agendas on the pod.
All realistic. Honestly, all
realistic.
achievable goals, Jerome. All of them.
For sure.
It's like we're in DC.
All right. And another question from Jeffrey P. Nesker at Jeffrey P. Nesker. Shout out to Waking the Red. An academy question. Where would you like to see the academy in 5 years, maybe 10 years?
Ooh.
I'd say producing players consistently. So a conveyor belt of players coming through. I think that the methodology, the facility, the player pool in Toronto is second to none in North America. I think we've got all the ingredients, the ideas, and the work of Greg Vanny and now Anthony Capitoso as our academy director is excellent. It's just now, and it does take time, just ensuring that cars keep crossing that bridge into our first team, and cars there's no gaps where they can fall off. And we spoke about it a little bit earlier, ensuring that every player, every personality is different for whatever they need in their development to get to our first team, that avenue or opportunities available, whether it's a loan move, whether it's CPL, whether it's our under 23 or USL team, that every box is covered for what our young players need.
That's a great answer. All right. Well, at this point, we're going to move it in-house because for the Ask Terry segment, we decided to come up with some questions ourselves. I'll lead it off. Wheels, you got one as well, right?
I have a couple. Yeah, I have a couple.
We're running out of time, aren't we? We're over.
No, that's okay. This won't take long.
Well, Gareth, if you have a couple, why don't you lead off with the first one and I'll come in second.
What's your biggest regret in your career? Do you have one? I think we all have decisions that we made or moments that we regret. What about you?
Two. I left Manchester City with 2.5 years left on my contract to go prove the world wrong that I was ready to play, and went and signed with a team in the 3rd division at Barrie. And I should have trusted in the process, stayed at Manchester City, waited for my opportunity to come around again to play more games, and gone from there. So that was probably the biggest one. And number 2, it was tough because a year and a half later, I dislocated my knee. I had a similar injury to Victor Vasquez, and I was never going to be the same player again. So I think from that injury, I did everything I could to, hit the potential that I could hit post an injury. But probably that was the biggest one, that I never really got to see how good I could be. And yes, it's a tough one to live with now, and hopefully I can help the little dudes coming through, that they don't find themselves in that situation.
Okay. Well,
a bit somber now.
Well,
don't worry. My next question is very light.
And this one is light too that I'm coming with. So,
and by the way, there wasn't loading, and you could protect player. Like I would be training I'm training with a bung knee Monday to Friday. There was no, just take it easy till Friday, do, some core stuff and play on the weekend. It wasn't players. It was tough times, man. It was, you're just battling every day to have a career.
Totally.
Okay. Well, For the Terry Dunfield story, if we were to make a biopic, this is me as producer asking this question, who are you casting as yourself in your bio movie?
Ooh, the guy from Jason Bourne, Matt
Damon?
Yeah.
Okay, you'll take Matt Damon?
Matt
Follow-up
Damon.
question, who's Gareth Wheeler in this story too?
Like my
Is it Ben
sidekick.
Affleck at that point? Do we have just the Ben Affleck and Matt Damon?
Yeah, I like that one. Goodwill Hunting Styles.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Dunfield, I don't want to see you anymore. Go chase love. Go figure it out.
You're the smart one. I'm just the hardworking one. I'm the glue guy.
No.
That's it.
All right, Wheels, what do you have?
Dude, it's my movie.
If you could have one food and one food only for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, no more chicken. I've had like 400,000 chickens in my career, so no more chicken. What would it be? I love Indian food, but then I wouldn't want to have it every day.
Well, this is the question. Like, what kind of
it's always a
food?
hard question. It's never necessarily your favorite, but what you can also go with for the rest of your life.
I'm confident in Mexican.
Are you Mexican?
I'm
I'm leaning into sushi personally.
Yeah? You
Yeah.
could eat sushi every day for the rest of your life.
I mean, when you ask me like that, now I'm starting to question myself. But no, I'll stick with sushi.
That's a lot of fish.
Yeah.
I love both your two. I'm going to stick with Indian food.
Okay.
Nice.
Right on.
So Terry, we have put you through the ringer when it comes to yacht rock, but I want to ask you your musical preferences. So if we attend a DJ Terry Dunfield event, what are we going to listen to at this event?
God, I would love to know this.
Wheeler would be he'd be running the show, so I wouldn't have a choice. The two kind of genres I listen to at home are like rainy jazz is kind of always going on in the background.
Hold on. Rainy jazz? What is rainy jazz?
Just any kind of jazz, but like rainy jazz seems to be what's on in the house all the time.
Well, what's rainy?
I don't know. It just is like
Like there's rain in the
Good jazz for
background?
rainy day.
Yeah, just I don't know, dude. Google rainy jazz.
We will do that.
That was a bit of an angry answer.
All right. So first genre,
Last-
rainy jazz.
oh, Jerome, I'm still going, man.
Yeah.
I
And
don't-
what's the next one?
I try to not be on the phone in the car. I've been calling people. My commute of 20 minutes to the training ground is like where I try to just decompress a little bit. I listen to 90s gangster rap.
Okay. Who's your go-to artist?
I don't know if he's 90s, but I like Snoop Dogg.
Okay. That's 90s.
I like
Snoop Dogg is every decade. Sorry?
For some reason, I like Ja Rule.
Okay. So in the 50 Cent Ja Rule battle, you and Ja Rule's-
baby.
Oh, man.
All right. Okay. Anything else?
Here's
We'll end up on you.
Here's my last one. Being a professional soccer player, like, dude, I'm so envious that you've had the career, the opportunity that you've been afforded. It's pretty amazing. I want the name of the player to this day that you can't believe that you shared a field with. You're like, wow, like someone that you'll tell your grandkids, I played with or I played against so-and-so. And then the second part of that question is, which player would you have loved to play against, but you just never had the opportunity to?
Probably two. So probably for older listeners, Gianfranco Zola. It was kind of cool to share a pitch with him. Probably the biggest names, Ronaldo, Kaká, players like that. But probably the best player I shared a pitch with was during my times at Manchester City. It was an Israeli international. His name was Ayel Berkovic. Just a really good top operator that made the game look so easy. So I'd say that it's probably him.
And then someone that you wish that you played against?
Beckham was a good one too. I got his jersey. That was a good one. Someone I wish.
Man, I am so jealous.
Probably Messi, just to see how good he is live. It's yeah, that would have been fun.
Dude, how good is Beckham? Like when you're pitch level, when you're on the same, like how good is he? I always think that he's being completely devalued of the player that he is because of the image and everything else, right? In his moves. But man, what a phenomenal player.
Yeah. I remember I said to him, we played them at the Sky Dome. Do you remember that game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Galaxy.
Yeah, it was fun. And I kind of shook his hand and I was like, dude, you're really good looking in real life, eh? And
You said that to him?
Yeah. And he just kind of like looked at me like, you're an idiot. And started laughing. And then that day, my job was to stop him. And if he just had half a yard of space, he was smashing 70-yard diagonals to Landon and Robbie Keane. He was so good. I think we spoke about it before. I was defending the near post space as well on his corner kicks. And he was like whipping skin off my forehead. Like the ball had so much waz on it. He was in ridiculous shape. His movement was good. He would drop into the back line and he knew I didn't want to go there. And then that would open up space. And probably the biggest thing that maybe he doesn't get credit for is he's got a crazy work ethic. He just doesn't stop running. He's a bit of a gob. I mean, he talks a lot to the referee. That was annoying as well.
Kind of like LeBron James. The greats do that, right?
Yeah.
So
Michael Bradley.
Yeah. Jerome, do you have anything else? Are you done?
I'm all set. I know everything I need to know for the soundtrack of Terry's movie and who's playing him. So this is all I need to know.
Sweet.
It'll be like Soul Plane.
We take off to some rainy jazz, and then once we're in the sky, it's the gangster
Snakes on the plane.
Snakes on the plane, right?
Terry cruising to the training ground, listening to Ja Rule and DMX. That'll complete your day. If your day wasn't complete, well,
you would think it'd be the other way.
When
you say decompress, you would want to decompress to rainy jazz and get hyped to gangster rap. But like decompressing to gangster rap is, you know what? I'm very much for it myself. So
rainy
I'm on board.
Jazz. All right. There it is. Our first ever Ask Terry Anything. We'll do this again maybe at the end of the season. We'll see how things play out. We'll see if you have more to ask from the man, the myth, the legend, Terry Dunfield. That's it for this week. We'll be back next week, and we'll break down the game against Atlanta and any other news, notes, and happenings from TFC land. Good stuff, Jerome. Thank you, as always. And to you, Terry Dunfield, I'll see you on the golf course tomorrow. Terry's finally living up to this long-standing rivalry we've had on the links. He's been brushing it off for weeks now, but it's going down tomorrow, dude, and you're going down as well. So good luck. On behalf of Terry and Jerome, I'm Wheels. This has been Come On You Reds.